I was due to return to the UK in mid-September, and then 2 weeks later take my UK CAT exam. And I just remember one evening sitting at the dinner table with my family. We're playing dominoes, and it starts raining, then it gets windy, and it starts flooding. The house gets flooded, the roof comes off the house, and we spend the whole night in the bathroom cupboard trying not to be blown away by the hurricane, and it was awful. Hi, I'm Lian and welcome to Medic's Wallet. I help aspiring and current second-degree medics financially make it through medical school. For top tips, for strategy, and for insight on all things money and all things medicine, subscribe to this channel. In this video, I'll be sharing my story of how I got into medical school. I'll be telling you a bit about my upbringing, why I decided to become a doctor, and how I ended up applying to medicine 3 times before being accepted. I grew up in London as an only child. I lived on a council estate with my mum, who was a working single parent. As you can imagine, not all council estates are the most child-friendliest of places, so I spent a lot of time at home, a lot of time watching TV. I loved things like Disney, and so from a very young age I wanted to become an actress. I remember one day in year 9, my teacher handed me an envelope. And in the envelope was a letter that had my GCSE predicted grades for all of my subjects. When I opened the letter, my jaw dropped. I was in shock. It said 7 A stars and 3 A's. Up until that point, I'd never seen that potential in myself, and I never knew my teachers saw that in me. And so I went home in shock and started really considering what I actually wanted to do in life. At that point, I still wanted to be an actress. I had a whole plan. I was in lots of school plays. I did lots of drama clubs at the weekends. And I knew that I wanted to go to RADA or LAMDA, which are top acting schools in the UK. But this day that I got my predicted grades changed everything. I remember sitting down in my living room and asking myself lots of questions like a little grown-up. I was 14. And I was asking myself things like, Lian, why do you want to become an actress? Do you really want to become famous? Are you sure this is what you really want? And I realized that what I really wanted was to impact the lives of many people and for it to leave a tangible impact. And I was wondering to myself, is that something that I could achieve through my education? Is it my education that can take me there? Especially with these, these predicted grades, these grades that I've been predicted. And I remember saying to myself, what is the highest thing that you can think of to become, And an image flashed in my mind of like someone in a white coat, and I was like, oh, a doctor. And that was, probably one of the real moments that I strongly considered whether becoming a doctor was for me, if I could see myself doing that. And I was 14, I kept it very simple. I was like, oh, I like biology. Yeah, I'll do that. And that was it. That's why I decided to become a doctor. I achieved 6 A stars, 3 A's and a B at GCSE and 4 A's at A level. I also did the medicine entrance exam. I did the UK CAT and I got a score of 613, which at the time was a below average result. So I was really gutted, and I missed the opportunity to do the BMAT. That's another story for another day. So I applied to medical school with my UK CAT and I applied to 4 medical schools. I didn't receive any interviews, any offers, and so I ended up taking my backup, which was biomedical science at King's College London. I'm really happy with my decision. I would say in hindsight I probably would have taken a gap year. At the time I was advised against it, and I was quite fearful of taking a gap year, I guess the fear of the unknown. I really enjoyed studying at King's. I studied biomedical science, as I mentioned, and what I really loved about it was that I got to choose my own modules in 2nd year and 3rd year, so I just chose all the subjects that I knew I would enjoy. For example, I chose subjects like French, psychology, drugs, diseases, and neuroscience. But medical school was still in the forefront of my mind. I felt that it was my UK CAT that let me down, so I kept working on my UK CAT every year to try and improve my score. At the time I was at King's, I was eligible for a UK CAT bursary, so I used that to keep practicing the real UK CAT every year whilst I was studying, so I would be better prepared for when I would apply a second time. And I was really hopeful that, you know, my scores were improving, and so, you know, it was putting me in a good position for when I would apply to medical school the second time round. It was early September 2017 and I was on holiday in the Caribbean with my mum. At this point, I was due to return to the UK in mid-September and then 2 weeks later take my UK CAT exam. When it was around mid-September, there was a hurricane warning, and I just remember one evening sitting at the dinner table with my family. We're playing dominoes, and it starts raining, then it gets windy, and it starts flooding. The house gets flooded, the roof comes off the house, and we spend the whole night in the bathroom cupboard, trying not to be blown away by the hurricane, and it was awful. It turns out it was a Category 5 hurricane called Maria, and it just completely devastated the island. No food, no water, no electricity, no way of safely getting off the island. But thankfully, with the help of my parents, about a week later, I was able to get evacuated off the island and to go back to the UK. So by the time I get back to the UK, the day I arrived, it was 1 week to my UK CAT exam, and ironically it was also the first day of uni, because I was then in my final year of biomedical science. So it was just, nothing was going to plan. It was awful and very you know, traumatizing experience. I called up the medical school, I called up the exam board and explained to them what I'd been through. There wasn't much that they felt they could do. They just said, you know, you're gonna have to try and take the exam and just try your best and see what happens if you want to go to medical school. So I took the exam. Unfortunately, I underperformed. I think my score was 575, which was lower than what I got when I was 18, and I've been practicing for 3 years, and you know, my score was a lot lower. To put it kind of into context, at the time, I remember looking up the stats for the UK CAT, and at the time 20,000 people had taken the UK CAT, and my score put me in the bottom 2,000 people. And around at that time, it's a lot better now because there are more medical schools open now and a lot more places, but at the time about 20,000 people in the UK applied to medical school for 4,000 places. So if you're in the bottom 2,000 of the UK CAT, it's really improbable, right? But I used my score. I applied to 4 medical schools. I tried to be strategic, and I'm really grateful for the advice that I had at the time. I did get an interview from Norwich Medical School, but I did not do well in the interview. I think the interview was not too long after the whole hurricane situation, and I was still going through a lot, so I was under a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. So I didn't get an offer from any medical schools at that time. I graduated from biomedical science with a 2-1 in July 2018, and it was very much a bittersweet day because I'd always imagined and hoped that I would have graduated from biomedical science and also have an offer from medical school, but that was very much not the case. And I remember at the time feeling very angry, and I had this deep sense of injustice because I didn't feel like I had been given a fair chance to apply to medical school that time round the way I would have wanted to. And it wasn't anyone's fault in particular. It was just an untimely and really unfortunate situation that I was in the hurricane, and it kind of just had that domino effect on everything else. I'm really, really grateful for my friends and the mentors that I had at the time, because it really gave me the strength to apply to medical school that 3rd time round. And so after I graduated, I essentially took a gap year and worked. I retook my UK CAT. This time my score was a lot better. It was above average. I applied to 4 medical schools and I received 2 interviews and 2 offers. And I was very much happy to never have to go through that application process ever again. It's now been 5 years on from then, which means I'm in my final year of medical school, It's been a great experience and I'm really grateful to have made it this far, but it certainly has come with its challenges. And one of the challenges that I faced is navigating medical school financially. When you study medicine as a second degree and you're on the 5-year course, you're not entitled to a tuition loan from Student Finance England, so you have to self-fund your tuition and a lot of other things by yourself. And this is something I go into a lot more detail in my video called How I Self-Fund My Way Through Medical School. You can click here to watch it. Subscribe to this channel, give this video a like, and share this video with someone you think it might encourage. And I'll see you soon. When it was around mid-September, there was a hurricane warning, and I just remember one evening sitting at the dinner table with my family. We're playing dominoes, and it starts raining, then it gets windy, and it starts flooding. The house gets flooded, the roof comes off the house, and we spend the whole night in the bathroom cupboard, trying not to be blown away by the hurricane, and it was awful.